Hey everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. Today's video is a super simple all Dollar Tree mug holder. Now I am notoriously a habitual mug buyer.
Habitually, he's a habitual line stepper.
I can't pass a mug that's cute and not buy it, so my cabinets have no space. So I decided to make this using Dollar Tree materials. Of course, if you want to use materials from Home Depot or somewhere else, you totally can, but of course this is a Dollar Tree DIY. Anyway, I really hope that you enjoy this video and stick around by subscribing to this channel. As soon as you hit that subscribe button, we instantly become best friends.
What? Did we just become best friends? Yup!
And please don't forget to hit that notification bell so you know every time I post a video. Anyway, let's go ahead and get started.
For this project, I used 2 of the wall art plaques from Dollar Tree, and as you can see, they come in 2 sizes, square and rectangle, and the rectangle gives you a much longer piece, so that's obviously what I went with. So what I did was flip them upside down so that I can bind them, and for this I used my E6000. And by the way guys, excuse my voice, I just had a tonsillectomy, so I'm gonna sound a little funny for a few videos. So I added a generous amount to one side, and then I just pushed it up against each other, making sure that it was aligned, and grabbed some binder clips so that they can stay nice and right up against each other as they dry. So I let them dry overnight, and then the next day I removed the clips. And to add some extra support, I am going to be adding 2 screws here, and I'm going to use my Dollar Tree hardware set, which brings nuts and bolts. So what I'm going to do is grab my drill and a drill bit that's about the same size as the screw, and I'm going to do 2 of these. You can add more if you'd like. So now that my holes are made, I am going to flip this over to get rid of all of that gunk. And then I'm going to put in my screw and its backside, and this is just going to give it some added support so that you can add weight to this and not worrying about it splitting down the middle. So now that this is ready, I am going to work on the rest of this, and what I did was paint this with a chalkboard spray paint. I also have chalkboard paint, and I really do prefer it because you can see there are some lumps and bumps. So now I'm going to grab some sidewalk chalk and I'm going to cover the entire thing. Now this step is optional if you're going to add a permanent image to this, but this is just so that when you do draw on this with chalk, the chalk doesn't stain and you can wipe it off without it leaving a little shadow. So after you've done this, you are going to take a dry napkin and rub this down. And this is why I say I prefer the chalkboard paint rather than the spray paint, because it did leave me with a lot of lumps in the paint. So now I use this image that says coffee and tea, and I printed it out off of Word, and I'm just going to cut it down so that I can use this as my guide. Before I tape this down, I am going to take my sidewalk chalk and I'm going to trace over these letters. Now this is dark enough to where I can just trace, but if it's not dark enough, you can just cover the entire sheet of paper, and this is going to make it really easy to get this image transferred onto your wall plaque. So after I've traced everything out, I am going to carefully place this onto my final piece and hold it down using some painter's tape or masking tape, whatever tape you know is not going to lift up that chalk. And I really regret not painting this onto separate sheets of paper because I did end up with a lopsided image, but that's totally okay. So now that everything is in place, I'm gonna grab my pen and I'm gonna trace over everything and make sure that you get every last detail because this is going to be important. While you're tracing over everything, to make sure that you're getting all of the detail, you can lift your paper up and make sure that it is transferring, but just make sure that you don't move it around when you're doing that. You can also use a mechanical pencil for this, anything with a really hard tip, but just make sure that you are getting every last detail in here so that when you trace, you don't have to freehand a whole lot. So now you can go ahead and remove your tape and your image, and as you can see, it is perfectly transferred. So to remove the excess chalk, I just grabbed my fingertips and just pressed it up against wherever there were any chunks, and it came right off. And honestly, it really doesn't matter in the long run if you are going to paint this. So I used Bistro chalk because I wasn't sure if I wanted this to be a permanent image, but you can go ahead and use regular chalk paint, or you can even just paint the whole thing. If you paint the whole thing with a paint brush, it might actually look a little bit neater. But I wanted to use this later on for my leashes, so I decided to use regular chalk. So again, I'm taking my time with this and I'm making sure to move the canvas around with me so that I don't smudge anything with the bottom of my hand. And even if you're using paint, you're gonna wanna do this because you really don't wanna ruin something that you worked so hard on. So this is what mine looks like when it's done, and like I said, you can paint the whole thing. And I'm going to be using these self-adhesive hooks from Dollar Tree. I kind of wish I would have used the bigger ones, but I'm just going to place them where I think the mugs would go. I suck at measuring things out, so I kind of always eyeball things. So now I'm going to remove the adhesive lining, and I'm just going to add E6000 to the edges and to the lining itself. When you add E6000 to adhesive, it kind of slides around, so please allow enough time for this to dry. So now I'm just going to place this down, and I'm going to do this for all of the other pieces as well. So now I just let it dry for 24 hours, and then I wiped everything down so it looks nice and neat. And now you have a fully functional mug display. You can even use it for your leashes or your coats. It's totally up to you. If you like this video, please don't forget to give me a thumbs up, and thank you so much for watching and putting up with my voice today. Thank you so much, and until next time.